everybody. Welcome back to the Ortiz Outtakes. And we are coming at you. We're doing this virtually right now. I'm a little bit sick, so I don't want to spread the sickness. So we're doing it from our homes. And yeah, welcome back. You want to say anything?
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Back to the Ortiz Outtakes. And welcome back to Melanie, who was out doing crazy things.
Yeah, I was out last week. I live in Austin, so we have South by Southwest every year, every spring break. And I was there for 9 days and nights, just doing shows and music and free food, free drinks, like every single day. It's like my Christmas time, so I do that every year. And today, we are going to be talking about this new movie from the Blumhouse production studios and Lionsgate. It's called Imaginary. So we both saw Imaginary. And Dad, you want to kind of give a summary about what's like? We'll obviously get into the whole thing soon, and I'm just gonna say spoiler alert right now because we're gonna say everything. Can you kind of give just like a gist of the idea?
So, Imaginary, as mentioned, it's a Blumhouse movie. They also done movies like Five Nights at Freddy and Megan. So if you've seen those movies, you kind of like know what to expect. The Blumhouse, they make some pretty good horror flicks and entertaining too. The whole premise is kind of it's a trip because they try to take you along a story in which you're led to believe one thing and it actually turns out to be another. So it has a few twists, there's a lot to improve that could have been better on the movie, but for the most part, it was funny and interesting at the same time. I won't say that it was scary because it wasn't really scary. What did you think about it, Mela?
Well, I think that there was it was mostly funny. Well, we say funny because we watch so many horror films, and we're also comedy fans, of course, but like I always find the humor in horror, and even though that's not what they may be going for, like all horror films have a type of some sort of comedy in it. So definitely had some good funny moments. And there was like one moment that I had a jump scare, but it was nothing that was like part of the scariness of the movie. It was like one of those jump scares where it was just like she looked under the bed and then the little girl's face was under the bed and the little girl scared her. So but we'll get into kind of what the movie was about. So pretty much the main character of this movie is played by DeWanda Wise, and she is an actress that she's just been always working. Starred in Spike Lee's Netflix drama She's Gotta Have It, and it looks like she's been in some Jurassic World movies and things like that. So she's the main character, and she plays like an illustrator and I guess like a youth, like a kid's book author. So she's very creative and always drawing. And basically the movie starts off with her having like this reoccurring nightmare that has a lot to do with something that she like forgot about in her childhood. So her and her husband has two daughters that are not hers, so she's a stepmom. And there's this like underlying story about them dealing with those girls' biological mom. Like she's kind of, I guess she's just not mentally sane and has hurt them or something like that. But anyways, the main character moves them into her childhood home, and that's where all this weird stuff starts happening. The youngest daughter gets an imaginary friend named Chauncey. And you want to talk about Chauncey?
So Chauncey Billups is it's a teddy bear. It's a teddy bear, and the youngest girl, her name is Alice. She finds it down in the basement one day when she was kind of like exploring their new house. Right away, she starts interacting with the bear, and they show you, that they're talking to one another and, doing like a tea party and stuff like that. So the lady, Jessica, is her name in the movie. She sees them, and she asks them. She sees them while they're having a tea party, and she asks, "What are you guys talking? What are you guys talking about?" Because she sees the bear and the girl. So she says that she's doing a scavenger hunt. And if you look at the things that's on the scavenger hunt, it's a list of stuff that's kind of like, a little bit weird, But she starts doing that. And, all the meanwhile, I guess the dad, because there is a dad in the movie, but he's gone in like the first 15 minutes. I guess he's with a band, and he goes on the road and never comes back. This guy, I mean, he just let his whole family go through hell. But anyway.
Yeah. And then he said he pieced out after, like, there's two girls that are his biological kids, and Jessica is the stepmom, and the older teenage girl don't want shit to do with Jessica. She's just not respecting her. She's just like giving her hell. And then so the dad's just like, "Oh, sorry, I have to go on my music tour," and he leaves them while like they're dealing with this imaginary friend who ends up being like some demon. I don't know, it's not really clear if it's a demon. I guess that the lady next door who studies spirits said that she linked it to something like el cucuy, or like everybody calls it something different, and we call it imaginary friends.
Every culture has entities that tether to the young. We call them imaginary friends.
Yeah, and the lady next door takes a role in the movie, as a person that used to know Jessica when she was a child and she lived there. And that lady, her name was Gloria. So Gloria, she took particular interest in the little girl and also Jessica. She was a little bit creepy because of how much she wanted to be involved, And at one point, she wound up giving them up, and when they get to the forever ever, never ever land,
the never ever
world. Yeah, the never ever. So that was where Chauncey Billups was from, and
but first, let me say, before they get there, the little girl, part of her scavenger hunt is like she tries to hurt herself. Like it's a list of things to do, and the last thing is like something that hurts you and something that like causes you pain. I don't know, something like that. So the little girl tries to hurt herself by slamming her hand on like a rusty nail.
Something that hurts.
Alice! And then luckily Jessica, her stepmom, catches her and stops her, and then she calls the therapist. And so the therapist comes to the home to talk to the little girl, Allie, and she films the whole thing, and she talks to her and asks her about her imaginary friend. And Allie's talking about Chauncey and how he made her do it, and that she's having issues now with him because she feels like he's not nice to her. And then, so the therapist, it starts up after the session. She goes back to Jessica, the stepmom, and she's like, hey, has Allie gotten any new hobbies lately? Like, this is like a 6-year-old or 7-year-old child. And she's like, has she gotten into like ventriloquism? Because like she was doing Chauncey's voice. And then Jessica was like, that's it. I'm getting rid of that bear. And spoiler alert, the biggest plot twist ever. The therapist said, what bear? And Jessica was like, her bear. That's Chauncey. And the therapist was like, there's no bear. And then the funniest part of the film for me is like, then we get all the flashes of like Allie holding the bear and talking to the bear. And like, where we thought like she was just standing like this. And that like the whole time there was never a bear. It was the biggest plot twist ever.
Yeah. Well, it was Jessica's imaginary friend.
But she forgot about it. She like buried it in her memories or whatever. And then the old babysitter, Gloria, who lived across the street, had to remind her of all this stuff. Like, yeah, they're going to try to get you and disappear into the never ever land. So then all of a sudden, Allie goes missing while they're getting this information from Gloria. And they're just like, oh my gosh, she crossed the dimension into never ever land. And then you were going to talk about
how that
looked.
But we didn't mention the dad. So remember the dad, in the very beginning, actually saved Jessica from the never ever. And that's why
Jessica's
he went crazy.
dad.
That's why. Yeah, because he looked the thing in the eyes. And then he went blind. Mm-hmm. But then he was remember, he was messed up, and they went to go and see him in the psychiatric asylum, the mental asylum. You remember?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then, because we got to add that one in, because at the end, remember, that's a scene at the end of the movie that they go in to see the father. They remember she's reading him a book or whatever. And they come out with the stupid eyes.
Yeah. So yeah, they go into. She learns about, what happened to her as a little girl that she like had forgotten about from Gloria, and then Gloria explains to her like that's why your dad is insane now, because her dad like is like a shell of himself, and Jessica, the main character, she never really knew what happened to him, other than like her mom had died when they were younger and she moved away after that. And but the truth was that he saved her from the never ever land, and he looked into like the demon's eyes, and he saw all of the worlds of like kids' imaginations, and it was too much for him, and so he ended up like going blind and losing his mind. So with all that information, they go into the never ever land to save Allie, and they're like it's pretty much anything you can imagine in there, because it's an imagination fueled land. And so there is one scene where they think they've saved everybody, but or we think as a viewer that they saved Allie, escaped from the thing and everything. And then the next scene is her and the family reading to her dad in the, place where he's staying, and like reading one of her books. And then all of a sudden you look at the family and they all have like big button eyes, like the bear. And we're like, no, she's stuck in there.
Yeah. The old lady, she wound up trying to stay there. That's how crazy she was. She wanted to actually stay in the never ever. You remember? And she locked the hatch so they wouldn't come out. So
she ended up backstabbing them.
Yeah. and
She was crazy. Like, she was obsessed with the spirit world because she was studying it and apparently wrote books about it. And people always, like, called her crazy or out of her mind for it because she, like, really believed in this thing. So whenever she made it into the Never Ever Land, she was like, see, I'm not crazy. And she was, like, obsessed with them. And so she locked the door behind them, to get back into the real world. And she was like, we're staying here forever, I promise them. So she was really, like, on the demon side. But then they just snatched her up and tore her up and killed her immediately. The demons.
yeah, real fast. Hey, so what when they went into the Never Ever, when they first went in the door, there was a scene in which the I guess the directors, or whoever that was trying to show of how weird or crazy everything was, because it was they had different staircases and stuff like that, like it was reminiscent of MC Escher, so and it was also done to show you that although, and like what that lady Jessica, she did not understand, is that even when they burnt down the house, the entity, which was Chauncey, he was not gonna die, because he was coming up from different doors, because that's what they showed in that scene where it looked like MC Etcher. They had all different doors, and even in the corridor, one of the corridors that they were walking down, it had various doors, so you wasn't just gonna kill him by burning down the house,
Yes, because he feeds on kids' imagination. So his his supply is endless.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing that I did I noticed was that it was that the movie was kind of like, it had bits and pieces of a lot of different other movies from what I looked. Of course, Alice in Wonderland, and one of the main characters, the little girl, her name is Alice, so it's Alice in Wonderland. What's the other one? The Nightmare on Elm Street. It had reminiscence of that.
Another movie that it is kind of like is Insidious. It's like Insidious because they're trapped, they're trapped in that, like, other world. And, like, in the last movie, he had to go find his son, or they had to go find each other in that world. So it's kind of like that, like opening the different doors and trying to bring them back through that door and shutting that door for good.
Oh, and Coraline. Coraline.
Coraline, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah.
But it had little different bits and pieces of different movies, and which was okay, because they didn't like outright rip them off, It's just, it was kind of like almost like paying respect to those other movies, But of course, the same old trope, Once there's something that's in the house that's possessed, and it's a toy or whatever. So I was torn, because in the first hour of the movie, I was a little bit getting bored. But then at the end, that's when it got really good. So, I don't know. It kind of like, maybe like that. Maybe like that.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel maybe like this. It's like this.
Yeah.
It's like wiggling. But, like,
Yeah.
but definitely I had no clue of where the movie would end up. Like, I didn't have any idea of, like, where it could go. And it ended like other scary movies do. How finally they beat up the thing. They beat up the demon and they think they're done, and then at the end it's like a glimpse of there's like a little boy with his bear in the hotel room. And the mom's like, I told you that's not a real person. And he's like, Chauncey is real. And then the movie ends. So it's like he just moved on to another kid, another imaginary friend.
Yeah, he got traded from the Pistons, Chauncey Billups, and
overall, I think that it's not like a movie I'm running out to tell people, oh yeah, you gotta watch it. I think that it's just like another, it's just a good, I wouldn't even say good, but it's just like a decent thriller watch. And it was a fun watch, and they didn't like leave anything like unanswered. So at least like it got a proper ending. It got like everything got an explanation, and there was really nothing that was just like kind of like what
they did. The father, where the fuck is the father at and shit? Oh, you can edit. You go get, hey, just bleep that out. Yo, but where the hell is the father and shit? You know.
Oh yeah, I
Did
forgot.
He come back?
Peaced out.
Yeah.
No, he
So
never
they
came
never
back.
put like at the
we
end.
thought he came back.
They should have put like at
No.
the end. May the father, you know, the father went on to be a rock star, you know, or something like that.
On his world tour.
Yeah.
No, because they set the house on fire, and then the girls, like the stepmom and the two girls, were like, you know, in their blankets in the hotel, and it was just them. And then they saw that little boy talking to the bear, and so the little girl was like, should we just go to another hotel? Because she was not trying to mess with that bear. And then they all
went
left.
to another hotel.
And then that was the end of the movie. So the dad was not there. He must have been on his way, because like,
Yeah. Okay.
he didn't seem like he just
hey,
drove off
he
in a
probably-
car. He didn't drive off in a tour bus.
Yo, did they even try to call him in that whole movie? I don't remember. Like they say, yo, dad.
No,
we
yeah,
got
she
drama.
called him.
You know.
She called him.
I don't remember.
I think before the therapist or something. I
Damn.
think she did, because I think when the therapist got there,
wow.
she was like, "Okay, she's here. I'll call you back."
He probably was like, oh, yeah, really? Oh, okay. I'll be right there. And never showed up. Yeah, he probably
know,
bought
right?
a ticket to Mexico and shit.
He said, "My kids is going crazy."
He said, yo, fuck them kids and shit.
We had a comment. On our last.
we did.
We had a question for you. We did have a comment on your last video, which you gave us good, like 10 steps to package your comic books to send it into the CGC Comics, and we will be doing a live opening of that, you guys. So don't forget to come back and tune in. Our comment says, they said, "Wow, that was very clear and helpful, Carlos. What's your personal Holy Grail comic book?"
It's not so much that it's expensive, but in the way that I got it, I was in the military, and I was on Fort Carson. It was 1993. And I was in the PX, the Post Exchange, and Stan Lee just happened to be there. And he signed a comic book for me. And along that came with that was a certificate of authenticity. You know, he was doing signings for the soldiers in Fort Carson, and as a matter of fact, I have it on my wall, and it is it's the Uncanny X-Men number 300. Let me see if I could it's right there. This one right here. So that one, it just means something, you know, like I said, it's not worth, you know, $1 million. It's just the thought behind it. And I actually got to see and meet Stan Lee while wearing my uniform, while I was serving the United States Army. So, and he's doing his thing for the vets. So I love that, and I love that comic right there. So thank you for your comment.
Like I said, we're going to be doing a live unboxing whenever that comes in. I know you're keeping track of if they received it or anything with your priority mail shipping. And but yeah, as soon as we get that, we don't know the date, but we'll make sure and do a live, like a live. I'll be there in person because we're gonna set up the cameras all nice and everything. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing that. Okay, well, I think that's all we have for today. And next week, I am going to binge the show that my dad has been telling me to watch, and it's gonna finally end. So I'm gonna binge it, and then we're gonna talk about it. And what's the name of the show?
Constellation.
Oh yeah, and what's that on?
Constellation. It's on Apple TV, and it stars an actress named Noomi Rapace. I think I'm pronouncing that right. She's a French actress, but she's like an action star for real. She's been in a lot of things, and she's been in the Prometheus. I think she was in Prometheus as the main character. And she's been in a whole lot of other stuff, action movies all throughout Netflix. When you see her, you know who she is. But if you're looking to watch, a sci-fi mystery thriller, I guess, it's a pretty good one. It's a little bit, it'll trip you out, so you gotta have to have patience and an open mind. I'm not gonna give you any spoilers. I'm gonna, but at the same time, it's the movie takes place in the near future, and it involves going to space and things of that nature, and it also involves, and a lot of people might say like the multiverse, but it's more so of multi-realities, and you gotta pay attention if you want to keep track with how many realities that Noonie, her character's name is Joe. So if you want to keep track with all the many lives of Joe, you got to pay attention, because like me and Melanie mentioned in one of our podcasts, the directors, they like to work a lot with color. So you got to keep track of the colors to identify the different and how many realities they are. So like I said, it's an hour long, and there's 8 episodes, and they just completed the 7th one. And next week, me and Melanie, since she's going to go ahead and binge the other 7, we're going to talk about it next week, because that's the finale is next week.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and also share it with your friends. Share it with your family, your friends. It's just, we're just talking about movies and TV shows and nerd stuff. So just, it's a little bit of something for everybody, I think.
Just, keep it light until the next time I see you. Until the next time I see you next week.
So until next time, we'll see you on the next episode of the Ortiz Outtakes.
All right. Peace.